The bag of chips. Dorito victory.
The Dorito victory. We'll have to see what they have here. Champion select in the last of the best of 3. Riven Jap bringing this one to you live. Freak and Kobe are going to bring you that matchup of Curse versus Good Game University. But as we finalize this to see who moves on, we get the picks and bans underway. Zuna finds some love as well as the odd one in the jungle.
Going a little bit slower this time, but these are still the very same bans that we've seen in the first 2 games. Tristana Nasus, Nocturne Shen, slight target at Dyrus and the odd one, but they're mainly trying to make sure the global comp doesn't come out, and we do see a Karthus ban this time, which is very, very interesting. And let's see if Mega Zero's prediction was right and whether or not Vulcan goes for Jace this time, knowing that they cannot lane up against a Karthus. I wouldn't be surprised if they locked in like a Jarvan and a Diana very early, just because of how successful Diana was for them last game.
This will be different for Bloodwater. We'll have to see if he breaks out something like the Leona again. The supports are out for him. The Sona's picked. They start to rock around the clock on the champions. See what they decide to lock in.
There is so much available right now. Renekton, Malphite, Jarvan.
105 champions.
There are 105 champions. I'm just going to... Ahri, Akali, Alistair, they could pick anything. Wow, Jap predicted it. Good job, man. And I don't even know what they're going to be going for in this one because there is just too much up for them.
So it looks like they put Zach on the hover. They do have the Malphite in, though. 15 seconds to choose this second one. And we've kind of been saying that, you know, the 2 priority picks after blue side, if it really had an advantage, people are using picks and bans like we've been saying, like that chess game, and really planning a few steps ahead.
And this is the same chess game that got played in the first game as far as the first 3 picks go. And it might continue onward a little bit more because I believe Reginald actually picked Karthus in this situation, so we can only go this far. But the Caitlyn Sona is a lane they picked, and it's something that Vulcan couldn't beat. It's something they did not have an answer for, and it also gave TSM the edge in a couple lanes, especially since Vulcan has already picked Malphite. That would give TSM the opportunity to, again, pick a Rumble or something if they want to, but picking a Diana here would be very smart for them.
They may pick into that Diana. We'll have to see what Wild Turtle will be able to pick up for the rest of their... Not Wild Turtle, he has Caitlyn, but they'll be able to pick up for the rest of the team as now Vulcan shows their pick. So they now see mid somewhat. Obviously, Dyrus not playing that Diana in the top lane, but we don't know what he's going to choose. So.
And these guys share the pool of champions with each other. The Diana pick away is very good for TSM. Reginald has had a lot of very good Diana games this season, and Psycho Sid was a real problem for TSM in that one. There was just... He was eating turtles that whole game. Even in the top lane and at the end of the fight where he just kind of ran in and soloed them, Dyrus couldn't handle his split pushing pressure, and obviously they'd already picked Malphite, so Psycho Sid wasn't going to be on Diana, but mandatory cloud played as well. So picking it away like that was smart.
So they have that Jace, and they just have to protect their blue buffs, really. TSM feels like they can leave that up. The Renekton is also there for Dyrus on the other side as well. So, you know, we heard Reginald say it. We kind of heard Mega Zero say it. These guys are going to want comfort picks, and it looks like they're finding them in a lot of positions here.
And it's good for Bloodwater to pick Lulu. His support champion pool feels like it's Thresh, Sona, Lulu.
Right.
You're good. So the other 2 are already taken. He decided to pick Lulu, and that combos pretty well with Malphite. They can get the double knock-up from Unstoppable Force into Wild Growth if they really want to. But I don't see a reason for TSM to kind of change too much from their Game 1 strategy that worked quite well. The only difference if they do this will be Reginald is not on Karthus but on Diana instead, because that strategy worked so well for TSM in the first one.
So we'll have to see how TSM kind of represents their, you know, jungle pressure, or map pressure this time, not having the global ultimate on 6. We'll see what Odd One can produce from Cho'Gath in the jungle, second time around here in this best of the 3.
And the Jace would be available if they wanted it. They wouldn't have the same type of double assassin comp with Diana, but they'd have the Jace scaling, they'd have the Kog'Maw scaling like they talked about before. And Jace versus Diana is actually a matchup I have not seen that often. I don't know how that would work because the roam for Mandatory Cloud was so effective last game.
And they're leaving again the last band of Mandatory Cloud. They switched on and off with doing this.
Yeah, they really have. Most of the season, Mandatory Cloud was the last pick. And then against CLG, for whatever reason, they decided to start picking early for him. And now they are just back to the early picks of Psycho Sid and last picks for Bloodwater.
Yeah, they are going to chase that out. And it looks like you said, Lulu for Bloodwater. Odd One, they're going to be picking up Cho'Gath there as they switch around. So Special getting the support that he wants. Comfort pick there. Comfort pick for Reginald. Obviously, Diana is in his repertoire of champions. And like you said, Dyrus sticking with that Game 1 win comfort. And he's actually just been on Rumble. So.
And I really like how we have, it's just Rumble 3 times in a row. I like how we have a mix of the 3 games in this one. It's not the exact same comp for Vulcan, it's not the exact same comp from TSM, but both teams are essentially using the elements of the compositions that worked for them. The Jace was a huge factor for Vulcan in the last game, so of course they picked that again, as well as Zuna being comfortable on Kog'Maw. But then TSM picked their really good lane matchups because they did not want to fall behind in that situation, and they wanted to make sure that at every point in the game they could win the lane so they don't get out pressured. And both of these teams are just going to be battling out in the last one.
So if we remember correctly, Mandatory Cloud was on Katarina the first time around, was really hard countered obviously by the Cho'Gath pick of the odd one, but now he's on Jace, which with Jace he just wreaked havoc against Reginald last game. Like we said, he had the blue belt, pretty much got blue buff the entire game. He wore that thing with pride. So we'll see if they can do it again. Vulcan and TSM both eyes on their buffs, like you said. Odd one doing it all throughout solo queue to make sure you know you play how you practice. Vulcan being able to do it just team-wise, keeping that pressure on.
And the level 1 in this game is going to be so interesting since Vulcan did pick up a bit of an edge by doing the 2 buff start, where the jungler will start with 1 and Mandatory Cloud will start with 1. TSM is actually a really good level 1 team, especially now with the Cho'Gath coming in because they have the threat of that rupture if they try to invade. TSM could brute force something out of Vulcan here and force them into an uncomfortable situation.
We have pings towards the top lane here. It is the final matchup between Team Solo Mid and Team Vulcan Command. Here in the best of 3 series, the semifinal playoff matchup. One of these teams will move on, one of these teams will move down. We have the start off. Riven Jap bringing it to you live here for game 3, and it's already underway. TSM looking to make some aggressive moves here.
And you could actually see Mandatory Cloud used his form swaps to get a bunch of move speed mid lane because he figured TSM was going to take the fastest point to getting into a jungle, which is actually up mid and then into the brush. And since ManCloud spotted them, Vulcan knows where they are, but it doesn't stop the brute force invade.
First hard invade here, so it looks like we're both wrong with the safe play. Actually, me and Mega Zero with calling it would be safe play.
And this is what TSM kind of wants to do. They don't want to give away that double buff early. They do not want Mandatory Cloud to control this one. Even in the first game, we saw Xpecial trying to go up and harass that off because they thought they might be doing it. And Vulcan's going to get themselves in a lot of trouble here if they don't get out.
So is this safe play from TSM? Because like you said, they did it a little bit later. He just Xpecial just walked up out of lane and did it at a later point in time. Does this give them that much of an advantage or just being safer?
This is just a different level 1 opening. I don't think anyone has actually gotten an advantage quite yet. They're just placing actually more wards than you may expect. This is 4 early game wards from TSM. I think they're really looking to win the lanes a bit more in this one, and that's seen from the picks and by their level 1 movements.
Explorer wards already timing out, so everybody's going to start interacting with their jungle camps here. ManCloud going to get some help, and mid looks like they're going to do Wraiths on this one as they do Wolves in the bottom lane. Golems to the AD carries, as you see Xpecial and Wild Turtle head to lane.
And Mandatory Cloud took all of that experience, so they really want him to get going in this, and they're going to at least force Odd One to use Smite here as they pressure up and try to harass Odd One off of blue.
Coming around, that's a lot of level 1s to be engaging here. It's a 3v1. Zuna kind of far on the backside. They aren't able to get that one off. It does go over to the Odd One, but he's very hurt here. Mandatory Cloud could be looking to go hard. They still see Reginald in middle, so they know they don't have to move. The Shock Blast goes out, but like we said, level 1s, the skills just aren't there.
And that was a lot of harass that they got down, but Darius has a whole bunch of health potions, and Odd One is Cho'Gath, who was able to get the blue, but aggression all around the board from these teams.
This is going to be quite hard. Yeah, ManCloud got that experience, but Reginald's level 2, and that was great for Xmithy to pressure him in mid, so he couldn't just run rampant once ManCloud got the lane.
And you also got to keep in mind there that Mandatory Cloud used his Ignite in that situation. Reginald actually already ignited Xmithy as well, and Xmithy trying to get a little aggro on that mid lane.
Great harass. He was able to do it in the bottom lane the other game, and it really proved useful. So he's soaking up experience here, getting himself back into the jungle now. So he's definitely ahead of the Odd One.
And I want to see where the Odd One actually puts his ganks this game, because in their victory game, he was camping Mandatory Cloud. In their defeat, he was trying to get Darius and Wild Turtle going a little bit more while letting Reggie kind of fend for himself. I feel like for TSM to have the most success, and just because that's what worked for them in the first game, Odd One's going to be spending a lot of time mid.
And you know what's interesting is, like we said, that was a Katarina lane, but they still pressured the heck out of it, which allowed them to get that win. So the Odd One always creating, as we say, we'll bring it back, pressure. It's working out for the team here. 4 minutes as we come up onto this. No real good damage on any lane for the kill to be taken and the advantage to be moved. Both red buffs being picked up by the junglers as they continue back. Looks like we may have some lane action in the top from Xmithy.
And no buff steals this game.
Nope.
Both double buffs, as you say, going to the junglers. But the roam from Mandatory Cloud is probably going to be early and often this time. They're looking to maybe get 4 people on a dive in that lane.
Wow.
Psycho Sid's giving up this turret essentially, but even if Odd One comes up for this, it could be tough.
They go straight in. They don't even wait. The wave's already there. They're looking for the first blood. Dyrus gets hit up. The tower is onto Xmithy. They're going to keep turning this one around. The Ignite is first blood for Mandatory Cloud. If they want to get him going, this is definitely the way.
They really want the double bust off the Autumn, but this is very dangerous. They're all really low, and I think he's going to be able to protect them and this turret.
Yeah, he moves it out. A tasty treat. Not tasty enough. Mandatory Cloud moves to mid. It looks like he's going to try to stop that push from Reginald. They're trying to put good damage on the turret, and we actually have one dropped in the bottom lane already.
Even though Vulcan got a kill out of that, they have gotten very little damage on that turret compared to what TSM has done to Vulcan's bottom lane turret. So, nice idea for the 4-man gank, but getting only one kill out of it, not a turret, I have to give the edge for TSM because TSM got a whole turret.
Absolutely. 400 gold in the lead, that deficit. So the first blood really not mattering too much there. Reginald knowing he can go in. It takes a little bit of harass. He's going to be backing after this one. We'll see what he tries to pull into lane. No, he just got that CS to chug his potions.
Zuna also trying to keep this one up. He used that CS because he wanted the cannon minion in mid lane, which is basically double the value of all the other minions, and he could not miss that one. So it was worth it to Reggie to be able to get that.
We'll see what they try to posture here. We see Xmithy kind of invading in the jungle, taking up some wraiths of Reginald. Is Diana one of those, should we say, champions that can go back and take camps? Diana one of those champions, as we said before? Yes.
Diana is one of those champions who really takes wraiths well. All he's got to do is get a couple points in that W shield, and he basically kills it without taking damage, as well as being able to activate that Diana passive every third attack to just AoE out that camp. Very, very good at taking wraiths, but Mandatory Cloud is going to be doing his best to keep the pressure on mid lane and making sure Reginald can't take those detours out of lane.
So if we remember correctly last time, a 20-minute Muramana for Mandatory Cloud here. He goes for the tier again right now. 4-man pressure onto the top lane. Reginald going for 2 Doran's rings as he blings out on this one. Looking for a little regen in lane to keep that farm going.
That is Reginald's Diana build when I've seen him do it. So he's definitely going for a little bit of extra health, and he's hoping for that kill potential at level 6. Keeping the lane shoved up. Mandatory Cloud has spent a lot of time in other situations actually trying to out-roam Reginald, and Dyrus is a baby Yordle right there. He's level 3 right now. He's been really heavily shut down, and he's really going to have to try to come back in this one.
Dyrus just flying on by through mid lane. Didn't even expect to see him coming. That's good. So he's going to head to bottom lane. He won't take too much harass from Psycho Sid, but I'm sure Psycho will try to put the pressure on with when he sees that advantage in levels. The aggression going on here. Mandatory Cloud's going to swap to that top lane, and they're going to actually put it right back onto Dyrus.
Yeah, that's actually a much bigger level discrepancy than I expected. Psycho Sid hit level 6 while Dyrus was still level 3, so despite the gold being 200 in favor of TSM, Vulcan does have some turret damage and might be trying to get that one down, but that level discrepancy on Psycho Sid might get used as he's teleporting in behind Turtle.
Oh, Turtle was just hitting the turret. He's not looking, but here comes actually Reginald from the backside out of the darkness takes down ManCloud before he can even take a breath. He is going to keep diving on this one. The Q hits. Oh. Reginald may have that ultimate up in just a few seconds. 14 seconds. They're not going to get it.
And that was a great roam by Reginald. Xmithy trying to close in, but he is all by himself. All he can do is defend this turret.
He needed to get up there in a quick way, and it looks like he's actually going to get help from Psycho Sid here as well. Psycho Sid used his teleport, like you said, to get there, so he's going to have to get as much out of this last bit of HP that he has. They are still going to lose the turret. They may lose their lives for thinking they could do so. The I think I can mentality coming into play here. There's the attack from Wild Turtle. Can they peel him off? There's the damage to Power Cord to come out. No, it's not a Power Cord, but it is an auto attack. The support's coming through in this best of 3 series for kills.
Unfortunate for Psycho Sid, the last hit, kill secure from X Special. Those are the ones you want to get on the support because nobody else would have been able to get that kill except for X Special. And Mandatory Cloud just trying to defend it out, but pressure is the name of the game here for TSM once again. 2,000 gold lead mainly off of turrets.
Odd One still trying to put that pressure onto middle, and we see it's going to be Xmithy to try and thwart that off. We're watching the bottom lane now. Dyrus still taking some damage here along with his turret as they sit about just the same amount of health. Those solo laners, those side laners as well, 31 to 21 in CS. So not too bad of a discrepancy, but it could start to hurt here. Dyrus finally hitting 6.
Odd One also keeping his farm up pretty well with X Special. Dyrus was able to recover, which is a really, really good thing for TSM because they could not have him falling too far behind in this game. And Vulcan needs to make some kind of move here. They made it last game when they kind of catapulted themselves into lead, but neither team has actually made a big comeback yet in these best of 3s. Both of the games really going to the team that got the lead first.
So we actually see Wild Turtle picking up the pickaxe first. Now, obviously, still a good buy, a good chunk of damage to get in a point in time in the game where people think you'd be a little bit behind in damage because they wait for the BF sword. But is that going to set him back if he can't start to get the kills he wants with it?
I think it's just one of those things for Wild Turtle that he's just going for the power right now. It's not going to set him back too much if he's going for that BF sword later. It'll be completely fine. You see a lot of AD carries start with pickaxe first if the gold breakpoints just work out for him.
All right, so getting back to that buy, it's how much money he had in the bank. Chad says it'll work out. I believe you.
He's got a 900 gold edge right now, so there's no better way for him than to just go for a pickaxe.
Right, obviously able to poke down those lanes. They've been 2v1 so far, so they're trying to keep it going, get the damage on the turrets as well, so they can start to pressure onto Vulcan. Psycho Sid returning to top lane at level 7. He'll probably be able to get a Q down onto Turtle, but actually may be able to get more here. They're setting up for the gank, the 2v1. Turtle so far past the river. Oh! A lot of that happening this week.
We got some really good flashers in the LCS. You cannot stop. The unstoppable force is just getting dodged over and over again. Even that was a max range one, so it wasn't quite as difficult as some of the close range flashes we've seen. But that is a very consistent thing for people to be doing that. Yeah,
he had all the time in the world, days. But yeah, good flashers in the LCS.
Good flashers.
So here we go, engagement onto Mandatory Cloud. He is not as beefy as he was last time. He's actually still stacking up that tier right now. Hasn't even got another item for himself. 13.6 to 11.5. They're going to keep this one in the den in a very dangerous sort of way, but it doesn't even look like it's contested.
And this is Vulcan again trying to make moves because they know that TSM is a little bit too strong to fight right now. They're giving up the dragon but trying to take mid lane. This time though, TSM is one step ahead of them as Wild Turtle is already there to defend the mid turret.
Dire is somehow able to pull himself back from that level 3. Now level 7 along with pretty much everybody else on Vulcan. Psycho Sid has found 8 from being in that side lane by himself. But they have to be able to follow up with his initiation, and it doesn't look like it can happen right now. They are going to go on to Xmithy. The crescendo just missing on the edge. No dance for Xmithy, and they get out of that. Turret goes down, though.
But this is 3 turrets to 0. Vulcan really has to get back at them. TSM has taken so much liberty early on in this game, really putting the squeeze on Vulcan.
Psycho Sid trying to pressure the top lane. He was big on it last time. He's not as huge as a pusher as Diana would be with taking down those turrets. But once he gets the Sunfire Cape, he can definitely put pressure with those waves.
He needs to find something going here because Vulcan, despite having fairly good wave clear across the board, has not been able to clear off. That strategy from TSM and the picks and bans thus far, really just making sure that they have the lane advantage, is really paying off.
We'll see Mandatory Cloud. He just had that blue on my screen, so he's running around with that once again. Half health though, so they got to be careful. He did not go back after that engagement. Odd one looking to pop up on Xmithy. And they're just looking to get any engagement they can. They know they can win these simple fights.
Yeah, they know exactly what they are capable of, and TSM is so good at just capitalizing on these little advantages and making them into much bigger ones.
We'll go ahead and look at the lanes again, and they are picture perfect as they have been. The 80 carries, again, the only discrepancy of about 20. So with the kills, with the roam, they are keeping their farm up, and these teams noted to do that so well here. 12 minutes into the game, the lead is because of turrets. So
Turtle was able to get that BF sword. He's going to be working his way to an Infinity Edge, and he is just extending his lead more and more over Zuna. It's 110 to 76 in that CS. Sure, it's only 1 assist difference, but the Dragon plus the 3 turrets are really just adding to that, and there's no way Zuna can actually fight him, which is why Turtle is able to continually extend this meaningful advantage. Another Spirit of the Ancient Golem picked up here, going for the odd one. He likes that HP. He likes to be able to get himself into fights early. That synergizes with his ultimate, stacking 100 health, or 150 health rather, every time he gets that feast stack up. So he'll be quite a big void. Can't even call him a voidling, void thing. Void monster. Void monster coming up here. Almost 15 minutes into the game. Actually get a look to see where ManCloud is. And he's only 384 from 7 out of 750 on that tier. So I don't think he's going to have the 20-minute run of this game. He's not at the same pace that he was last game. No. He hasn't been able to roam around, and his gold has been much lower. But it's mainly just because Vulcan hasn't been able to take the same liberties with the map as TSM has had huge control. And here they're just actually hoping Vulcan's going to defend their 4th turret of the game. And this is just TSM keeping Vulcan on their heels. This is the TSM that just wants to go all the time. And they do. The flag toss goes out. Look at, they know they can initiate on some of the tankiest people that want to be the initiators for Vulcan. Back in, Psycho Sid goes, and this is kind of what Dyrus would do. A little bit of their own medicine for TSM. Psycho Sid goes in hard. He gets the Lulu wall. There's the combo we were talking about. Xmithy tries to put some more damage down. It's going to be ManCloud on the outside. Zuna finally getting there. He doesn't have the home guards, though. He's just trotting in. Waddles in on Kog'Maw. Can they get the damage down? They're still under the turret. They have just a few minions to get out.
Odd One starts tanking. Zuna flashes into the fight. This is so scary. You don't have any escapes. They have enough to keep the defense there. They could still follow it. Very low mana coming in for the Odd One and X Special, but they're able to just disengage over and over.
So even though Reginald has actually respawned since dying, that was a 2-for-1. It was just a very long fight, and it's because Zuna is just so focused on trying to catch up to Wild Turtle that Vulcan's just a step behind. They were sitting at that turret, and they had every opportunity to turn that around because of how aggressively TSM was diving in there. But because it was a 5v4, TSM sat there and got out 2-for-1.
So we'll have to see if they can pull that out again. You can see it's just TSM dictating. They know they can do everything they want with these fights. They push that top lane, and Reginald dove onto Xmithy. Like I said, they're diving the initiators.
They're going wherever they want. Xmithy, again with the Hex Drinker, trying to deal with the double ability power team. There had to be the Chalice of Harmony on Psycho Sid as well. They've been first picking the Malphite, which has allowed TSM to build double ability power compositions against it and almost nullify the power of Psycho Sid, because yes, he can get on a Wild Turtle, but they can also just kill Psycho Sid because he's trying to stack armor to deal with Wild Turtle, and he doesn't have the magic resistance. So TSM has picked very smartly around Vulcan channeling so early into those Malphite picks.
I always see that Vulcan seems to be a few stragglers short every time they get to a fight. Like you said, lanes being farmed, turrets try to be stopped, Zuna focused on catching up. There's so many things on their play right now.
There's too much for them to handle, and in game one, which they ended up losing, they were doing a very good job of actually keeping up with it. They were able to make plays and gain advantages despite not being in the lead. It was very impressive of them. They need to be able to do something like this again, but TSM seems to have another sense of aggression this game, and they're going even harder.
Zuna looking to put that critical strike in his build as he picks up the cloak right away after a BF sword. Maybe leveling up the passive earlier than usual, trying to get that 25% passive off of his Q is really worth a lot in stats.
The 25% off
of
Kog'Maw, the attack speed that Zuna will be able to get. Yeah, he's completely staying away from that at the moment because he needs to get more of his Void Ooze. Actually, he's got 3 points in his E and 5 points in his Viral Arcane Barrage because he's needing to clear the waves and just shove out as fast as possible and split pushing. He's not even in Brawl mode yet because he doesn't have items.
So definitely waiting for that late game. And you can see, actually, he puts himself in the top lane. He says, guys, put me on an island if you need me. Just send me a seagull. I'll be there. 16 minutes in, 4-2. They got a long way to go.
And this is another opportunity for TSM to make something happen. Zuna is slowly pushing that wave in the top lane, trying to farm. Meanwhile, Wild Turtle's got a red buff and Infinity Edge, and Reginald's trying to land those Crescent Strikes.
Reginald going in. He actually goes on with the ultimate, so he uses that cooldown. Going to be waiting a few seconds. And it's just for aggression. They know they can do it over and over again with that low cooldown.
And even though Reginald went in about 3 miles ahead of the rest of his team, there was nothing Vulcan could do to counteract it because they just didn't have the team there.
That poke is still coming in from behind. The second time that TSM will run the poke comp, and it's working again. Vulcan with not enough of just that face crush, that in-your-face dive for the fight. Odd One going to help pick up the dragon here. He's going to get that Feast Smite down. He's already full stack, and you can see Vulcan, the dragon's being picked up, and they're setting up defense.
Maybe Vulcan will get their first turret here, though. So that's a trade that is definitely worth taking. Ka-ching, it's in the bank, 5,000 gold down, but maybe Vulcan can win a fight here. They have all their ultimates. Zuna still can't even get Infinity Edge, and Reggie goes.
Goes in, he doesn't have much mana, so it's going to be a long fight with auto attacks for these guys, but they pick up the one they want. It's going to be that siege clear for them, and they're going to go on this turret.
There's just no presence of Vulcan on the map right now. TSM is going wherever they want, and they're just taking even more turrets.
The Odd One keeping himself as the tank for that turret, taken down. So turret answered in the top lane as Zuna gets back to the fight again. Wasn't there for that one.
So that's 2 dragons, 4 turrets.
Yep.
That's about 5,000 gold just in objectives. So what's actually happened is you see that 5,000 gold lead now for TSM is Vulcan spent so much time split pushing that I think they would actually be up overall just in general minion kills. But because the globals are so one-sided and also Wild Turtle has the majority of the minion kills for TSM, Wild Turtle is becoming this unstoppable beast. He's almost at 7,000 gold 18 minutes in. And the rest of TSM is just pressuring everywhere else. They were able to get the global gold, just letting Odd One get his items, it's letting X Special get his items, and it's just letting them dictate to Vulcan.
So big. He is sitting on 2,000 gold right now and not a completed item for Zuna. This is Wild Turtle at his most aggressive, at his best. Definitely peeking his head out of the shell right now. Coming up on to 20 minutes. TSM is just really pressuring Vulcan into mistakes at this point. The turrets are theirs when they can grab them, but the fights happen. Vulcan is, like you said, always on their heels.
Vulcan does not have an answer for what TSM is doing. I like that Reginald also has the Zhonya's Hourglass because he's definitely the one going in, and he is very difficult to punish at this point with that Zhonya's. Infinity Edge, Zeal for Wild Turtle, plus the Dagger when you're considering Zuna hasn't even finished his Infinity Edge. I wouldn't be surprised if TSM actually picked up an Oracle or a bunch of pink wards very quickly and then just started trying to get the Baron because they have every opportunity to do whatever they want.
Slow it down. Where are they going?
Yeah.
We see Reginald pushing in the top lane, and that's Reginald. He can fight anybody right now. This is why he feels confident doing that. They actually only have one ward down to the bottom side, and you can see where Vulcan is pressured right now. 4 wards going across their side of the jungle from TSM right now, and they have 1 on their entrance.
And this is just not the situation Vulcan was hoping for in Game 3. Lose this one, drop to the 3rd and 4th place game. Both of these teams are still in the next split of the LCS. TSM, though, #1 seed, definitely want that $50,000 prize tomorrow in the championships. They're just pushing around the horn, getting seen by wards, but I don't think they care because they would be willing to dive.
Figuring out Zuna now with the team now, still has not finished up that Infinity Edge. He does have the core components to it, however. And Team Solo Mid is making Vulcan's jungle their own right now. They have put a stamp on pretty much every camp here. It's up to Vulcan to use this the top lane and the bottom lane second tier turret to really hold it off. Turtle pushing out ManCloud one-on-one.
And Turtle can probably duel anyone on Vulcan right now, which is not something that you see out of many AD carries at 20 minutes. They pull the Vulcan down, and now they're going for a bunch of turret damage mid. This is the most important turret right now for Vulcan.
Reginald locks in the Crescent Strike onto both Jarvan and onto Lulu, but they back off. Good damage to Reginald there. Zuna able to throw out some fire, and they do make TSM back off, so they know if they can't get to Zuna in a fight, this is going to be big. We just saw he can still do damage.
And Vulcan wants to hold out. They really need to catch up in percentage right now. When they're turtled in their base, depending on how TSM plays it, Vulcan won't fall too much farther behind. But with the way TSM is actually playing it, since TSM is cycling through Vulcan's jungle and still clearing the waves when they come out, TSM is actually just extending their advantage even more.
Reginald going for the Zhonya's buy right off the bat as he does on Diana. Let's see what goes out. Last whisper for Jace. Tears still being stacked. Does not have that Muramon at 20 minutes this game, but the Infinity Edge has been finished onto Zuna. You can see just how much more confident they are making moves already.
And they're trying to make something happen, but they're too scared of what might be coming at them from the top lane because Darius is on the hunt coming in, but Reginald's not even close, so...
They still don't have enough wards.
No. They can't get out of their base to put the wards down. That's the big
true.
thing. As they're trying to do any kind of initiation.
So getting the flash onto Darius, he's not really one to focus in the fight, so that's kind of a slight advantage gain, but not much.
And Darius has the Giants belt as well, so he's going that tankier rumble because they know they have Reginald just trying to fly in by himself. It's an okay situation for TSM to be in, and that was a very kind of forced initiation for Vulcan, but it did show that they are running out of ideas as to what to do. This is not the crisp play we saw out of them in Game 2, and it's not actually even the movement we saw out of Game 1 when they started to come back in this one. TSM has full control.
They absolutely. They've only been able to put 2 wards now at 22 minutes down by the Wraith camp in that bottom, or in the bottom lane rather, the bottom part of the map, and those aren't usable anymore. They're probably just going to time out, and they won't be back to those wards.
TSM's not been going in that area, as Psycho said actually has to burn flash. TSM roamed up.
Here's turret pressure into the bottom lane. Now that second tier turret that I said would be kind of pivotal for these guys to hold is just going to have to go down. The contest is slight. And there, no, it's going to go in down to Reginald. That Cataclysm is down, though, so they actually go back and forth. Ult for Flash, Flash there for 1. Dyrus and Reginald Flash now down as this engagement could happen.
TSM burned a lot of flashes in that situation. Reggie is down and Wild Turtle is down, so Psycho Sid is flashing red. If he could somehow get back to the fight very quickly, actually teleport into the ward that Odd One is sitting on, maybe Vulcan could try some kind of initiation, but they do not have Cataclysm to lock down. It doesn't seem like the right situations for a fight. TSM, however, is still looking for one.
Yeah, they said, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to pressure until we find a mistake. Xfinity goes in quite hard, but he doesn't have the HP. That's the second time in a 4v1. The teleport from Psycho Sid, but he puts himself in the middle, right to the back line. Special and Turtle get hit up for some good damage, but nobody can follow. Reginald face stove the team and kept him under the turret.
And there was an exhaust that went down on Psycho Sid the instant he teleported in, so if that exhaust didn't hit, X-Special would have died. He saved his own life with that exhaust.
It was still some good damage.
And it allowed TSM to come out 2-0.
They keeping them alive. Huge plays there. Smithy going a little too deep, and that's 4 seconds for teleport to come in. It seems like it was a little mistimed.
it needed to be synced with X-Smithy because X-Smithy went in, dived, died, and then Psycho Sid did the same thing.
Yes.
And they have to dive buddy. They're good friends.
Super dive buddy with these guys to go in. We saw it last game. They had the Lee Sin, the Diana, and they were just able to continuously crush people. They have to go on Reginald once again. Reggie going in and out as well. Almost made a mistake there. Like we said, they were blowing the flashes, and I think those kind of made Vulcan a little overtime.
Getting the flashes down definitely made Vulcan realize it was an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think Vulcan has been searching the last 15 minutes for that opportunity, so I don't think it was a bad idea for Vulcan to go in there. Execution was just a little bit off.
Got to try it. You fail all the executions, you don't try. So you got to try one to get the win in. 24 minutes in here, 7-2, still 4-1 in turrets. It's like all the kills come in right in the beginning, and then they slow down on the turrets as they figure out what the best thing is to pressure. They still didn't even get the bottom one off of that engagement.
No, so Vulcan has held their shell pretty well in this situation, but the turrets are getting weaker and weaker. This time, though, X Special has the Oracle's Elixir, so TSM is then now peeling around Baron. It's much better for TSM if they can force a fight in the jungle instead of underneath the Vulcan turret. So either they're going to be trying to take this Baron down for free. They have the kill secure on Baron because they can combo Feast with Smite for
1820.
Yep, 1820 damage. Since Feast has 1000 and Smite level 12 does 820. But mainly, TSM is looking for the fight.
There's Reginald going in once again. Still, this late in the game, going in on the initiators. It's not working out as well as it did before, though. Smithy did not take the damage he was. And Reginald is now down to half, but nobody can come back into the fight. They don't have vision of TSM and where they're coming from the jungle.
Look at Mandatory, Cloud, and Zuna. That was just Reginald, so the rest of the team could walk in after. Wow!
Oh, the flash save. Good guy, Man Cloud on Cloud 9 right now. They all get out, they turn it around, and he pops Reginald in the mouth.
Everyone was a hit away from dying, but actually Vulcan gets a kill. It does cost them a turret, and that is not a great sign for Vulcan in late game team fights, but that could have went so much worse.
They really made the best out of a worse situation.
They really did. That was a lot of Reginald work that got done, and it ended up killing them. But they got the turret.
They super made the right move by not engaging that. It was an entire team just running out of the forest, and you have no idea where they're coming from, where the first shot is. It was good for Vulcan to back off there. They're playing smart and adapting to this late game here, but getting a little antsy there on this one. He's going to get trapped up on that, tries to get out, but he cannot, and they can't even focus down Turtle here. There's one living artillery. He's got the range. He is a level 13 Kog'Maw, though, so he's still looking to get a few into that. He will have a few to keep vision on it, but will they be able to chase? A great caliber net keeps him safe there. Will they decide to go? ManCloud in and out on the gate. They get the odd one. He may sacrifice himself here. If the Glitter Lance goes down or the speed, they will be able to take him out.
And Dyrus was bottom this entire time, so TSM couldn't actually fight back once Wild Turtle started getting chased. Even though he survived for a ridiculously long time, and eventually Odd One came into sacrifice, that was a great chase by Vulcan and a good time to get aggressive.
See here at 27 minutes in, Vulcan starting to make some moves. Like we said, TSM, Reginald trying to engage onto Smithy isn't working as well anymore. The Muramana finally finished 7 minutes after it was in the other game for Mandatory Cloud, but he has that damage now. He can unlock that active. The Infinity Edge, Zeal for Zuna. Bill, Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer, Last Whisper, however, for Wild Turtle. Still eyes on him for this next fight.
Wild Turtle's hit those big 3 items. His damage is multiplying really, really well right now. And to get any kind of fight is big.
Whoa, Zuna getting caught out. You got to be careful when you're the last straggler in the line of the roam. It's going to be Psycho Sid as well to go down for absolutely nothing.
And that was TSM realizing how strong they were because Odd One and X Special were still leaving the base. If that would have got turned by Vulcan, it could have been disastrous because they got so much damage down immediately. They just picked up those 2 quick kills, and now they can force the 5v3 at Baron.
Huge swing in the game here for TSM to get those kills like that for free. You got to be careful when you're the last one in the line of roaming around. Good damage though, as Baron is going to be chunked down here. About a 1/4 of its health is left, and it doesn't look like they'll be able to take it. Smithy is in there. They're going to stop doing damage to Baron. They're taking it. The Smite Feast, you just can't stop that, and he goes down.
Odd One so clutch with that Shogat, just the confidence to know they can go on Baron, and now it's another kill, and Reggie's continuing the chase.
Didn't have to exhaust, but he exhausted anyways, which initially kept him in range, but it looks like he's going to get out with the last Glitter Lance. This could be a kill for Psycho Sid. The Shard goes down. No, he only gets the auto attack in. Reginald keeps his HP up, and TSM pushes his 5 strong.
They are at low health right now, but they are trusting their Baron regen.
Man Cloud 2 in a row now with the 2-for-2 long shots onto Reginald from downtown. The turret goes down, however. Psycho Sid from the backside, he kind of grizzlies this one out. They'll lose the turret, but they may get a wild turtle out of it. This will be good. It'll shut down the Baron, at least on a few members. Vulcan can relieve some pressure.
It feels like Vulcan is winning small battles, but TSM is definitely winning the overall war.
Absolutely.
7 turrets to 1.
There's the inhib.
Baron buff. Inhib is exposed.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of them keeping Vulcan in their base, not letting them get opportunities to win, and just giving them like small cookies along the way.
And this is a big factor too. Wild Turtle able to start putting that lifesteal into his build. Zuna not at all whatsoever and doesn't have a healer on his side. So any damage in these fights is sticking to these guys. He's got the Dorans, but that's not going to build him back up.
And as most AD carries do, he's got actually 4% lifesteal, so he's got 2 lifesteal quints on Kog'Maw. A lot of times you'll see the triple lifesteal quint for the guys that want to skip the Vamp Scepter and get to their big damage first, which we're seeing way more of, by the way, since the Vamp Scepter's gold cost increased in Season 3. But it is just a matter of Zuna is exploding. It's almost not even about the lifesteal. Reginald and Turtle are just killing
That's
him.
true, right? He needs to go. He would love to have that Guardian Angel right now.
Just need another 2,500 gold, and you're good.
Why not? Take out a loan. Somebody has it, right? 4-2-2, a Man Cloud in mid, 218 CS, but the leader of that, 256, 7, 8 as it just goes up. Wild Turtle picking up CS everywhere he can. The Bilgewater Cutlass, as we said, his last buy there, if they even need to turn it into the Blade of the Rune King. They have momentum. We did see Vulcan just thwart off with a turret, a Baron push from Team Solo Mid, and it hasn't really been harder before that, so they're doing good to adapt now.
The thing is, they got 2 Baron buffs off of TSM, so there's still 3 Baron members of TSM that have 2 minutes left, roughly, on this buff, and they're going to be wanting that exposed inhibitor to keep Vulcan Turtle in their base.
Pushing a little bit. Ooh. Everybody using what they can to get back in, get that front door closed, but it's wide open here in the front. It looks like they get a shock blast in. You can see what little damage it's doing. Get it on somebody like Dire, so the odd one. They can get good poke in there. Zuna on the outside. He has to be careful. Reginald will more than likely go in if he can hit that again. Good silence coming in. Bloodwater keeping the zoning and going on. From backside, Psycho Sid comes in. He hits Wild Turtle right in the face. But where's he going? Nobody's there to help him peel. It's going to be everybody outside. Like I said, Reginald wants to go in. They didn't even let Zuna take a look at that fight.
Reginald has so much presence in these fights. Zuna and Bloodwater were just completely taken away. I have to say the entire team was just scared of Reginald, except for Psycho Sid, who went for the other 4. And it just created an absolute mismatch for them and gets the inhibitor for TSM.
Never have I seen an engagement confuse a team so much and then not be able to be used. Nobody could follow Psycho Sid on a perfect unstoppable force.
It was just a matter of them being so far behind and the rest of TSM being positioned very well in comparison to the other 4 members of Vulcan.
This turret is just going down in the eyes of Zuna and his team right now. He gets a little close. That was the positioning of Bloodwater last time, not Zuna. There's a reason for it. He tries to get a Cathian surprise damage. They lose another inhibitor. The base turning to shambles.
Used the last bit of that Baron buff to exquisite use. Ran out of words at the end of that riff, but that was a great move by TSM, and they are very poised to move on to the finals here. I think Vulcan needs a bit of a miracle to get back in this one.
We'll have to see. Miracles do happen. It's not Sunday, but any given Saturday. We'll see if it can happen this time around. 32 minutes in, 13-6, and it's 51,200 to 38,600 in gold. 8-2 in turrets. TSM is definitely taking a different strategy to this game, right out of Champions Select, as we said.
They just have the formula here for Vulcan. They got it in the first game, and they're using it well in the second game. It was a matter of winning the lanes, and just, that's it. They use their skill after that, after they win the lanes, to just apply map pressure, get objectives, keep Vulcan pressed back, and it's worked really, really well. Wild Turtle now hitting 4 big items.
Yeah.
And Reginald goes in fearlessly, since there's actually not much fighting back at him at this point, and this is just TSM executing.
Vulcan has, you know, the items that they need to kind of be that core split push with Psycho Sid. They have the teleport on him, but haven't been able to use it as much. So that thwart's really one of the strategies they bring to the table. They have the Bulwark now onto Xmithy. It's helping the team. A late Muramana from what we saw in Mandatory Cloud. So a lot of what they had early game just got pressured down this game. And you can see the brute force that TSM has right now. And how they're applying it in the jungle. The equalizer now to go down. I figured he would have gotten out, but they just kept going. TSM relentless right now.
The long chase. They also know there's 2 inhibitors down and that they've created the 5v4. Wild Turtle Takes a lot of damage at the start of this fight. TSM wants to go, though.
Odd One goes down about half of his HP from turret shots there. He does sport the blue buff from one side of the map or the other. Looks like we also have a double buff onto Reginald. He looks to get some poke damage down, and that's what this team is all about, that poke. Especial sitting on the outside, waiting bated breath for that crescendo to come across on the Malphite initiation, but nobody really wants in just yet.
It's just a matter of time before TSM goes. I think they're waiting for their next creep wave. Mandatory Cloud is going to try to clear it off with those shock blasts. Odd One actually just tanking the turret.
There it is. Zuna goes down. The wombo combo only on to Zuna from Reginald. So it's Psycho Sid looking for the ult. You can see him circling around, looking for the best unstoppable force, and he gets hit twice from Wild Turtle and changes his mind on a complete initiation. The shot from Ace in the hole takes him out completely from about 600 HP. It's all onto Wild Turtle. They get the crescendo back across. They had a good initiation for a second, but Team Solo Mid has made Vulcan fold their hand. It looks like they'll have control of the base. Bloodwater completely out of mana, tries to get himself away. That's not going to work for him. They get him onto the turret. The Flamespreader goes down. He's got enough shields to handle it, though.
He barely stays alive on the turret, but I don't think they're going to save this Nexus. Bloodwater, the only one alive. TSM 3 strong.
A best of 3 playing in favor of the veterans. The long game experience is what they are accustomed to. They find the win over Vulcan in the playoff matchup.
TSM moves on to the finals with a resounding Game 3 victory. Look at the relief there on their faces. They have their eyes on the real prize. They want first place in this one, the $50,000. Tomorrow, they will play the winner of Curse versus Good Game University.